Welcome to Book Thoughts, where we are thoughts for books, and these are our thoughts on books. Since this is the very first episode, I feel like we should take some time to introduce ourselves and kind of share our goals for the podcast. So, Adriana, why don't you jump into just a quick introduction?
Hi there, I'm Adriana. I've always found excitement and solace in books, as reading allows me to explore new worlds, challenge my imagination, and broaden my perspective. It's more than just a hobby. I find it's a lifelong passion that connects me to people, ideas, and experiences beyond my own. Through reading, I have gained both knowledge and a deeper understanding of the world around me. I'm definitely the nerd of this group.
I would say I would 100% agree with that. She is the world-building expert. All of our questions are usually directed to her. If there's a map, she knows it and knows how to reference it. So, Jenna?
Olo, I'm Jenna. I read for love stories, I read for character development, and I read to try and find every hidden thing the author breadcrumbs in their writings. I am awful with geography, both in real life and fiction, so I always use Adriana to help me out. I'm not here for the world building. My first real experience with a book club has been with these two ladies, and I'm so excited to begin branching out and sharing our journey through book worlds with you.
And I would say that Jenna is exactly what she said. She's always looking for that deeper meaning, even if there's not one. She's going to pull one out of the book. She's going to find it. And if there's a love story, she's hooked in about 1 to 2 chapters, wouldn't you say? And shout
Always
out,
a new perspective for her.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, and shout out to Crescent City. Broke her heart. No spoilers for people that haven't read it, but
I was invested.
She was invested in chapter 1.
Immediately
invested. In a certain couple, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm Emily. I've always enjoyed reading, but it wasn't until my brain was rotting on maternity leave from TikTok. Not that I'm against TikTok, but it was definitely rotting because when you spend 8 hours at a time on TikTok, it does rot. So I decided to pick up ACOTAR, thanks to Adriana, and read all of it and loved it. And it kind of reignited my love for reading. So I would say that what I give to the group is just the questions and stirring the pot.
You definitely stir the pot out of
as
anybody.
much as possible.
Yeah.
Plus, you drag me along with all of your newfound book lovings because I wouldn't read the popular series without you.
Yeah, I like to read what's trendy.
You
not gonna
have
deny.
the most unique questions. You come up with some of the things that I would have never thought while reading it a first time, for sure. So I kind of like that in-depthness because it actually gives somebody something to talk about.
Good. I'm glad because we're just going to do all the questions on this podcast. So as far as our goals, first and foremost, we want this to feel like a book club that you can join virtually. Whether we have 2 listeners, shout out mom and dad, or we have 100, we want you to feel like you're in the discussion with us. Second, I keep calling this my passion project, and that's because I really do want this to be my creative outlet and to just have fun. But that doesn't mean we don't have some big dreams for this baby. We would love to get to the point where we interview authors, have famous fans join an episode, host events with fellow book thoughts, film on location. I don't know what that means, live from the parapet or gauntlet, but I would love to do that. So we have some big dreams for this sucker. And third, I think we all love reading and like to imagine these worlds and stories are real. So let's talk about them like they are. I want to cry, laugh, get angry, talk about who's hot, who we hate, and everything in between.
For today's episode, we're reviewing the prologue and chapters 1 through 6 of Onyx Storm, the 3rd book of the Empyrean Series. This will be part 1 of a 10-week journey diving into Onyx Storm.
Before we jump in, we do have a content warning. Today's podcast is rated mature. We are book thoughts after all, so we are going to be using adult language, talking about adult topics. Keep that in mind and pay attention to whoever's listening near you. This episode will contain spoilers for Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and all of Onyx Storm. Each week we will focus on specific chapters, but the conversation is open to the entirety of the series. Lastly, I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. I, mostly Emily, but also me, will at least mispronounce a name or a place. So just bear with us. Adriana will be here to correct us most of the time. And Emily's going to give you the recap and strip down of the chapters that we're going over today.
The prologue. Violet is searching for Xaden in the middle of the night, which is quite a task when the person you're trying to find blends with the shadows. His red-rimmed eyes went unnoticed earlier that day, but why would he risk being caught now? Tonight, there's a sudden snowfall that is a crippling reminder of who was lost earlier that day, Mama Sorengale. For Violet, grieving isn't an option. She needs to find Xaden before he gets himself killed. Guided by the tug of their bond, she is led to the stairwell of the interrogation chamber. Playing the dead mother card on some guards, she gets a moment with the prisoner. Who is the prisoner? None other than Jack the Whack himself. Why would Xaden be down here visiting him? Seeking answers? Is everyone seeking answers? Andarna is a 7th dragon breed who scorched a Venin but doesn't know where she comes from. Violet wants to cure Xaden but doesn't know how. Xaden wants to not be Venin, but hasn't he already lost his soul? The conversation between Xaden and Jack grows louder, along with the fear within Violet that she won't be able to save him. Jack is making it pretty clear that Xaden won't be able to ignore the hunger for more power, even declaring that his love for Violet isn't even enough to stop him from hurting her. Violet only gets one thing from eavesdropping on this conversation. She and Andarna will follow every possible path to a cure. Secrets will be kept, laws will be broken. First on the to-do list, find Imogen.
I feel like this prologue sets up a lot of this book already.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the most that you learn throughout the entire stinking book, I feel like, is mainly the prologue.
She's like, here's the thesis of what we're writing here.
Yeah. And I had to say, it's when I first read the book, it's the only chapter within the first half of the book that I knew exactly what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
The other ones I had to reread, or there was a name introduced where I was like, I have absolutely no clue what's going on.
Yeah. I almost felt like I was referencing Iron Flame quite a bit throughout those first few chapters, at least, because I was like, man, did I miss something? It's been a while, but...
I mean, and I had just reread the first 2 books, and I still was lost.
Yeah.
So we'll jump right into the questions, and this is how we're going to do this, at least for these first couple episodes, where we are going to do the recap of each chapter, which will be anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. But we're going to do that, and then we'll jump into the discussion of the question. We can't guarantee that this will stay the format forever, but for now, this is what we have. And so to get going with the questions, everybody knows the disclaimer at the beginning, where it tells us that this is being transcribed by
Jessina.
Jessina.
That's how I say it.
Yeah.
I just call her Jess. So everyone knows that this is being transcribed by our girl Jess. My only question I have based off of this transcription, so she wrote this entire book basically.
Yeah.
How did she get some of those stories in this book, if you know what I'm saying? Like, she went to Violet and said, give me everything, even your nights with Xaden. Like, does she want the hot gossip? Like, I would feel awkward asking that question. Or is it inferred that most of this is transcribed by her, but some of it's obviously added in?
I mean, her job is to transcribe the events. This is stuff of a war going down in history. So I feel like, especially since she's so involved with Violet as far as trying to find out information, anything she can in the libraries and the, the archives?
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like she is our right-hand girl throughout this whole process. And boy, would it suck if we can't trust her at the end. Theory approaching.
I just know those certain scenes that she had to transcribe probably made a good night for Sawyer. Okay. Going on, before we even jump in, are we upset with Xaden? Should others be upset with Xaden? He made a decision at the end of the last book that was a hard pill to swallow. But are you guys upset with him? Do you understand where he came from?
So coming into this one, I had a very bad taste in my mouth for Xaden. But doing my reread of this one for our podcast, I've become a little bit more understanding of like where he came from and why he made the choices he did. And I'm like backing off a little bit on my anger. But when I first started reading it, I was definitely super, super upset with him for making that choice.
That's fair. I don't feel like I was as angry as I should have been. I think I was still just reeling off of the fact that that ending with Jack was such a slap in the face that I was more angry about that and what that was going to mean for going into this book.
The only other option is he died the last book, so it's either he became Venin or died, which makes the calling to grab for more power even more real.
Yeah.
Because that every person that's died in the past has felt that temptation. So does that make him better or worse for it?
Well, and he is such a powerful character, Xaden is. So,
Yeah.
like, giving now that opportunity presented, it's like, okay, well, we have some things to fear.
Yeah.
Did anybody get like super, super sad when Sigel yelled, "No, I chose you"?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I did. I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then even rereading this book and, knowing that the password to her dad's studies was dragon, because dragon is supposed to be the ultimate bond. Well, Xaden obviously chose Violet over.
He saved Sigel too, because if Violet dies, then Taryn dies, then Sagel dies. So
Sagel bagel.
I keep saying it wrong.
Sagel.
It's Sagel.
Just so everyone knows, I call Sigel Sagel Bagel because that has to be her name. I make a lot of nicknames for people.
I'm sure there are listeners who would agree, though.
Yeah. So if you hear a name and you're like, well, that doesn't sound like a name I've read, well, then think, what mostly relates to this name? And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Use your phonics and
Yeah.
go back to basics and read our mind.
Yes. We can also safely assume the way this prologue ends that, hindsight's 2020. She wants Imogen to erase Jack's mind of this conversation. I mean, it's looking back, it's obvious that that's why she's like, I need Imogen. At first you're reading it and you're like, oh, she wants Imogen because that's the only one she trusts. She's kept so many secrets.
Well, that's where my mind went. But then, when I did the reread, I'm like, damn, this author is getting me with the hindsight shit. Like, I know why she wanted her. But at first I was just like, oh, well, Imogen was her confidant in the books before. That was the only one she trusted. And so that's who she's going to. Now I'm like, I'm an idiot.
And I'm sure we'll talk about Imogen's power or signet a little more later on. But it's, to me, probably the scariest.
Yeah.
Because who knows how many people's minds she's erased, how many times she's erased it.
And to live with that. Because she's got to know. At the same time, she's probably the only one that will continue knowing.
So we'll jump into chapter 1 now. Violet is no longer chanting her mantra of I will not die today, but instead proclaiming I will save him. We're starting off 2 weeks after she overheard Xaden having a bone-chilling conversation with Jack. Even more chilling, flying in January. Today's flight is no joyride. Patrols have become a deadly routine thanks to Venin and the constant snowstorms. Is 3 straight days without seeing the enemy a sign that they are actually gone? But even Patrol can't keep her mind off her meeting with the King's Council later that day. While landing back at Biscayeth, Violet opens up the bond to Taryn, only to be reminded that one particular bond is sealed shut, Xaden's, or as Taryn now calls him, the Dark One. Violet despises this nickname, but Taryn thinks that Violet is living in the river of Egypt, denial. After patrol, the true Fourth Wing Riders head back to the college where they are instantly met with hostility from Aura and Ewan.
Ewan.
Yeah, damn it. Okay, I'll just re-say that one. Wait, it's Ewan?
Ewan.
Ewan?
I don't know. Ewan.
Ewan?
I think it is. I don't remember that one. Is it Ewan? That sounds weird.
He's just like so freaking. I didn't even remember he was in the book.
Wait,
I can just do from Aura instead of
Pause.
both.
I mean, you could. Or
I think it's
what chapter is this?
and
Is this one?
and Tarn.
Tarn? What'd I say?
I don't remember.
Tarn?
Yeah, you did say Tarn for the longest time.
Tarn. It's Tarn. Not Taryn, but it's Tarn. Like you didn't rip the paper. It's Tarn.
It's not torn. It's Tarn.
It's not torn.
Okay, you ready?
Is the act of tearing is called Tarn. All right. So what was the name?
Ewan.
Ewan. Okay.
And I made a note on the...
And it's Ara? Ewan and Ara?
Yeah, I think it's Ara.
It's all right.
Listen, people, I'm
gonna erase ya.
I'm gonna get names
That's
wrong.
fine.
It's just gonna happen. I probably won't say one name right.
I don't think we could do too much correcting in the first episode.
No. After patrol, the true Fourth Wing Riders head back to college, where they are instantly met with hostility from Ara and Ewan. A reminder that I still said it wrong. Ewan. I'm still going. We can just cut that out, or I'll just say the name wrong. A reminder that the sole reason they aren't flying right back to Eurasia is because an alliance is the only path to save the Paramish citizens. Speaking of saving, Mira is due back from her secret mission tomorrow. What mission? It's just one she can't fail. We don't know what it is yet. Imogen walks into the courtyard, having been on Xaden duty. She wants a private word with Violet. She, Bodhi, and Garrick think Violet and Xaden should rethink their sleeping arrangements for Violet's safety. Of course, this idea doesn't go over well. A few colorful words from Violet, and it's time to move on to the real business they need to discuss. Violet leading a rebellion of her own. Whereas she says, rather picking a leader to lead a rebellion. Semantics. After the short-lived conversation, Violet enters the infirmary to find Marin, Riddick, Rye, and Kat gathered around Sawyer. The conversation shifts from laughter to a serious talk about Violet's quest to an even more serious talk about loss, i.e. a mom and a leg. Interrupted by sudden screams, someone shouts, "They're all dead," and a woman with a gray handprint on her neck runs in. Venin are here. The way I said "they're all dead" was like, and they're all dead. Dang. It would probably be like, they're all dead. But
they're all dead in there, guys.
Yeah. Guys, I know that you're hanging out with your friends, but there are some dead bodies in there.
They're like, what does she say? Decimated?
Yeah, decimated. They're desiccated bodies.
Desiccated?
I think she...
Desiccated?
I don't know. I picture in my mind them withering and just turning to ash.
Yeah, that's exactly how I viewed it.
From this chapter, a question that I just want to do a wrap around. The reason why there are so many snowstorms right now is because of Mama Sorengale being dead. Mm-hmm. If she was that powerful to keep the weather, at a certain temperature, a certain kind of climate when she was alive, then you can't convince me that she didn't send the rain when Violet crossed the parapet. You can't convince me that she didn't do that. For what reason, I don't know.
But did she do it on purpose, or was it just because she was so nervous, of her daughter, that she couldn't control her
emotions?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think of it that way. That's still sending it in a roundabout way. So
I told you, breadcrumbs.
No, I think her reasoning for sending it was good. Maybe she's like, well, she's either strong enough to cross this in the rain, or she dies now before she feels more pain. Ooh, that sounds like a country song.
Dear God.
She either
then
dies
she could
now
blame
in the rain.
instead of being like, well, my daughter could not make it across on her own.
Also, not even kidding, the first time I read this, I thought we were going to have a Twilight moment. In Twilight, for those that are familiar or not familiar, is it book 2, book 3? Book 2, Edward runs away because he thinks it's better for Bella.
Yeah, it was a total new moon moment.
Yeah, and I'm like, if this book has Xaden just running into the forest, lollygagging around, I'm going to be pissed why Violet melts away in a wheelchair. Well, not a wheelchair. In Twilight, in the movies, it looks like Bella's just sitting by the window in like a wheelchair. Like she's almost like at a nursing home. Like they rolled her up to the window and they were like, enjoy the view.
Just the little rocker from the horror movie is the grandma sitting there.
So glad that didn't happen. That's just a statement that I wanted to make.
But now that you say that, could you also put that towards the end of this book?
That is what happens, that she shuts down?
That we have a new moon moment.
Oh.
Spoiler.
But yeah.
You were warned.
I don't know.
She does have to chase him, and that was part of like one thing she always had to learn with Xaden, basically. That doesn't even make sense. Like the fact that Xaden kept telling her, you're going to have to find me in the dark.
Yeah, that's true.
You're the only one who can find me in the dark.
And we know that Rebecca loves a strong female character.
Yes.
So for her to be the one to be like, I'm finding him, I'm curing him, I'm saving the world, I'd be okay with that.
That's fair.
Okay. So do we agree with Taryn that that Violet's living in denial? Do you think that Violet's here? I'm just going to answer this one real quick because this is what I think. I don't think that Violet is necessarily living in denial. I think she's living in that, yes, he is part Venin, but I will save him. And there's no other option. So it's not necessarily denial as it is much. Is resolute the right word there?
To a certain point, she is in denial because even he's like, no, I can tell I changed. And she keeps saying, like, you haven't changed at all. Like, you're still my Xaden. You're still all this, which... The love portion of him is still intact for Violet, but I think Violet alone. And Segale. Did I say it right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I do it?
Sagel bagel.
Segale bagel.
I like Sagel bagel better.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I'm with you. Like, to a certain point, she's in denial, but at the same time, it's also like because she's gonna fix it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wondering if, because she's the only one who actually, like, gives Xaden not a choice, but, like, kind of, since she loves him, she sees through some of those moments, too. And I think that's what Taryn keeps reminding her is, like, you're in denial in that respect because everyone around her is terrified.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, if I was in that same position, I'd still want to save him. And I'd still want to know that, like, part of you in there. And that's what I'm banking on. If not, then it's like later on in the book, the big thing that I think is revealed is what is your line? Like, what's that final portion that you just can't cross? And she needs to be asked that.
Well, somebody makes her set it, but it's way further than when it should be.
When it should be. I agree.
But part of the problem is that she isn't honest with her very best friend, who I know Rye would be like, okay, you can be in love with this man as much as you want, but I'm not here to watch you burn. So figure out your hard line.
Well, and
we'll figure this out together.
Yeah, Ree has her back.
Yeah.
Imogen,
is it Ree? And I said, you're doing Ree because of reason. Ryzen.
No, it's Rhiannon.
Oh, okay.
So Ree for short, right?
I read it as Rye, but I'll do Ree now.
Oh.
Get your little rye bread.
Yeah, get your rye bread. This is Riri. Okay, moving on to the next question. Do you feel bad for Sawyer and his one little leggy?
Yeah, I do.
I feel like the entirety of this book, Rebecca wanted us, or not Rebecca, I guess just how most people probably read it, that we're supposed to feel bad for him. Mm-hmm. But I had a tough mother growing up in a great way. Mm-hmm. And I just was kind of like, you lost your leg, you need to move on with it. Every other chapter doesn't need to be, but no one wants to push him.
You're a fucking metalinguist. Like, put the damn metal on your leg.
I agree.
And manipulate it and get on with your fucking life. Like, let's go, boy.
Out of anybody to lose their leg, and that's your signet?
The best one. Like, hello.
Also, you have a dragon.
Yeah.
You don't need legs for a dragon. They fly.
Violet proved that you can still overcome certain challenges, even if your dragon is not willing to bend down for you to crawl, basically. Like,
which, spoiler, his is.
Yes.
He's just a hard motherfucker.
Yeah.
His
that was
head.
such
If
a
old
moment.
loose
So
joints can do it, he can do it.
Exactly.
I mean, Violet wraps herself up into a mummy every day to prepare for her flights. He's fine.
What is his dragon's name?
I do feel bad for him because absolutely losing your leg is something to go through, right? Like, we would all struggle there.
Yeah.
There's things that you're not going to be able to do. But at the same time, I'm with Ree in her, like, I'm going to push him. Mm-hmm. And then Violet's like, no, you need to be easy on him. I'm like, no.
No, there needs to be like a middle ground of like, he does need push, but like be understanding. But at the same time, you got to be tough about it.
Slap some sense.
Did you find his dragon's name?
I could not pronounce
I just
that.
Googled it.
Yeah.
There's just not a chance in hell that I'm going to be able to.
I need the audiobook for that one.
I'm going to try to say it. And and listeners, if you want to go back and figure out how to pronounce it on your own, great. I would pronounce this Slisig. And that, like Slee Slug almost. That's kind of what it looks like to me.
Let's call him Slee Stack.
Slee Stack. There we go. Yeah.
Land of the Lost.
Him and Sloane's dragon. Is it Thort?
Oh my God. Some of the dragons I can't.
The rest of them I can get. Ghislaine, Kurth, maybe? Fierg. I don't remember Sawyer's.
See, I say Fergie.
I just go,
maybe it is Fergie.
Sawyer's dragon. That's what works best for me. Also in this chapter, it was, to me, just one of the most obvious things ever. And I think we've all three talked about this from all three books probably, is that the Venin were hiding as scribes. And so when they were like, they pulled the hood down and it wasn't a scribe, it was a Venin. I'm like, yeah, no, that checks out. It wasn't a shocker.
So do we still trust Jessina?
You guys all know my one theory that this whole book is going to be a repeat of history. It's going to, or the whole series is going to be, they fight, they win, but then a scribe basically just does history. Chapter 2. It's game time. Violet grabs her daggers and jumps into action. Dead bodies litter the overflow section of the infirmary. This would be a really nice time to have Xaden, but the walls of his bond are still slammed shut. So Riddick, Ree, and the 2 randos from Second Wing will have to do. Sprinting down a tunnel, they run into a scribe. Wait, not a scribe? Red rimmed eyes and spiderweb veins mean Venin. A quick throw of Violet's dagger and thud. He's dead, but how many more are there? Noise is heard from the interrogation chamber, and it's clear why they are here today. A rescue mission for Jack the Whack. After rushing down the stairs, they are met with several Venin trying to free Jack, but one stands out. One with a faded forehead tattoo and a long silver braid. Mm-hmm. She vanishes, and a fight ensues. After a close call with Violet, a Venin shouts, "Not the silver one!" and "We need her!" Notice the 2 hints of silver. Despite her having one of the most powerful signets, Violet thinks they could only need her for one thing, to control a Xaden. She's not going to let that happen. Shadows creep in. Xaden is here. Screams fill the chamber. The shadows retreat. Bodies of dead Venin come into focus. And Xaden's muscled frame. For the first time in this book, we hear that famous word from his lips. Violence. An hour later, the group briefs Pancheck on what happened. He was surprisingly unfazed that the Venin went for Jack instead of the wardstone. Luckily, Jack has no clue what happened thanks to a ward on his cell. This very ward is also keeping him from feeding for more magic. He has less than a week to live. Xaden wants a word with Violet alone before she heads to her meeting. Alone isn't an opportunity Xaden gets often now that he is constantly being babysitted. He doesn't trust himself with a 10-foot pole. Speaking of a 10-foot pole, that's about how far he stays away from Violet, even while sharing the same bed. Talking through the bond, Violet wants to know how he wielded behind the wards. The answer? Sagel Bagel may not be talking to him, but she still powers him. Violet should be scared. She should run in the opposite direction. But she won't. Wait, if Sagel isn't talking to him, then how did he know she was in trouble? He sensed them. Xaden can sense the Venin because he is Venin.
Scared yet?
Scared
Dun,
yet?
dun, dun.
Dun, dun.
Thoughts on the silver-haired Venin? The first time you read this, did you say, wow, what a correlation?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, absolutely. I've been very curious about the silver hair the whole series. Mm-hmm. Because why would she continually bring it up? And I'll say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it even when I do my chapter. Hindsight in this book is killing me. Mm-hmm. Usually, I'm able to piece things together. This book, no. Yeah. This series, I'm not good at it.
I'm never good at it. So to me, it's just another book that I don't get it until the ending. I just want to slap Violet in the face where she's like, they could only want me for one reason. No, girl, you have the second most powerful signet.
Yeah.
There's not just one reason.
And your dragon. Yeah. It's not, or dragons, excuse me. It is not
Plural.
just about Xaden, because you guys come as a pair, and especially when it comes to power, especially when it comes to what you guys are willing to give them once they have you in possession, once they have you as Venin.
And
hence Jack being like, oh, she's going to die. She's going, this is the end game.
I don't know if I 100% know why they fully want her, even by the end of this book. What their plans, I guess, are for her. Mm-hmm. There are reasons to want her that are obvious. But it's just, I wanted to slap her in the face. It's, how can you be so clueless?
I mean, Taryn over and over and over again, when she says Xaden's the strongest rider, he's so far. Or,
yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Or, don't count yourself out. You're going to be there soon.
I have to ask the question because all over BookTok, all over social media, people are fighting over their response on this. Do you hate the nickname Violence? Does it give you the ick, or are you okay with it? Does it excite you when you read that?
It only gives me the ick when it's it's the only name he'll call her until he decides to be romantic and call her by her name. It's funny when it's actually appropriate, but that's just me. The rest of the time, I'm like, you only call her Violence?
Yeah.
She is a little bit much, but there are times when I feel like Vi or Violet would still suffice.
Well, he definitely doesn't do it much more in this book.
No. He switches to love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's to remind himself she's love, not violence?
Oh. To keep him grounded?
Yeah.
In a sense of how he can be, Okay. I like it.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't think of that. I'm not sure how this will play out in the rest of the book, but I think it's very important that we remember that Jack is dying without feeding for more magic. You know, it says that he can't pull from the stones because of the ward. Have they mentioned that before, that the Venin die if they don't feed? Because that one that they kept in the little treasure chest in the air in the second book, when she has to fight them in, like, the arena. Mm-hmm. I don't think it says he's, like, emaciated. I just think this is something to note because I think it will come into play later.
Because I don't think we have enough information on them. I think that is kind of one of the points, too, that Rebecca definitely makes readers aware of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, there's still so much she can throw out there for them.
Yeah. I thought it was funny reading this when it said that Pancheck... wait, is Pancheck the one that turns Venin in the end? Or isn't he on their side? Which one is it?
He's the one that keeps giving the information.
Yeah. So it's saying that Pancheck isn't even fazed by the news that they were on a rescue mission for Jack.
Yeah.
Of course he wasn't. He was a part of it. He probably helped plan it.
Okay. Pancheck cannot be trusted.
Cannot be trusted. Okay.
Although I felt the same way about Takaris, all of Iron Flame, I felt like.
Yeah.
But Pancheck is, like, in charge of the college.
Yeah.
But he also has, Mama Sorengale was under him, but in charge of the college. And now it's Atos.
Ugh. Sorry.
Appropriate response.
Yeah.
Engage.
Okay. Any other thing you want to add to chapter 2?
No. I mean, I do think it's significant to note that he's dying without it. Like, they can give him potions and all that, but to see that... And does that mean when he was better that they were letting him feed? Nolan says you're still at the part where you can make a choice. In the book before, he's like, "It's a choice, Jack. It's a choice."
Yeah,
and
no
he's
one's
like,
questioning Nolan. Yeah. That's Jenna's number one pet peeve, is that no one will interrogate Nolan.
You know, that's a good point to bring up, though.
Very, very frustrating for me.
Because Jack was, I mean, can we all say bad to begin with going into this?
Very bad. Like, I just don't understand the obsession with keeping Jack alive.
We need a villain outside of...
I don't know.
You don't keep Jack alive for this long and not have some big plans for him in the 4th and 5th book. There's no way he doesn't play, like, a crucial role.
Who sent him in the beginning to kill Violet? Because that was his number one goal from the parapet, right? Like,
I thought it was the anger in his heart that sent him. Does it say that someone sent him? I thought he was just a mean guy.
That's what I mean, like being bad.
Violet out of everyone.
Because he can sense that she's weak. Isn't that like his reasoning?
That's why he wants to kill her the entire book.
Yeah, but you think someone sent him.
I mean, I'm just saying, it's just weird that out of all of everyone, he's like, I need to kill her. Yeah. Like, why?
I don't know. Reddit, do your thing.
What does he gain from killing her other than just to be spiteful?
Like, and if he really wants to kill her that bad, why didn't he kill her in the last book when he saves her from falling off that tower thing?
So, but first he wanted to kill her so bad, and then he channeled.
He wanted to kill her so bad to take Tarrant. When she finally bonded Tarrant, he wanted to still kill her in hopes that Tarrant would choose him.
Yeah.
As the next best writer, basically.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know, his jealousy for her is super weird, if that's what it is, or whatever. Then he wants the dragon. Then he channels, and now he's, like, influenced by Venin. It's not just his or whoever hired him, whatever we want to make the theory to be, you know? Yeah. Like, now he has ulterior motives because of the Venin, and the Venin obviously want her alive. He can't kill her anymore.
And the list of reasons,
and that is why we call him, or why I call him, Jack the Whack, because he don't make no sense.
He don't make no sense.
He don't make no sense. Okay, chapter 3. Violet faces the Cenarium alone, escorted by none other than Beady Eyes McGee, General Melgren. The 6 nobles. Did I say his name wrong too?
No, that was perfect.
Okay. It's just great. Okay. I love it.
If we did a shot for everything I mispronounced in the English language, we would be dead.
Game.
Last episode, we're just getting totally wasted. The 6 nobles are there to represent Navarre's 6 provinces. Only one offers a smile.
Llewellyn.
I'm just gonna. Hey, you know what? That's our thing. If I look at you, you're
need
gonna
to just say
yeah.
the
Because
word.
guess what? The Duke of
Caldir. Caldir? I think it's Caldir.
I would have said Calder. So
I think it's the Duke of oh, fudge, Emily.
It's Caldir.
Caldir.
I think it's Caldir.
I'm gonna reread this entire
Okay,
paragraph,
let's do
and
it.
when I look at you, you're going to.
I'm going to
say
just
the name.
time in. All
Okay.
right, got it.
Chapter 3, The Meeting. Violet faces the
Scenarium.
alone, escorted by none other than Beady Eyes McGee, General Melgren. The 6 nobles are there to represent
Navars.
6 provinces. Only one offers a smile.
Llewellyn.
The Duke of
Caldir.
instructs Violet on her assignment. She will be allotted a task force. The objective? Find the 7th dragon breed, increase their fighting numbers, and provide insight to killing Venin. This command just won't do for Violet. She has demands from Andarna. Demand 1, Violet will take 6 riders of her choosing. Rejected. Melgren has decided that Captain Grady, the RSC professor, will lead the task force and he will build a squad of his choosing. Violet takes this one demand as a loss, every possible path to a cure. Demand 2, the
Scenarium.
will meet the rest of Andarna's list or Violet and her dragons will fly away. Accepted. Llewellyn escorts Violet out of the meeting and gives her a piece of parchment from Takaris. It's a reminder that she only has 3 days to hold up her end of the bargain. Shit, plan A is failing. Is it time for plan B? The next morning, Violet sleeps in. She rolls over to find Xaden doing the same. After quietly brushing her hair, she is met with the shadows and mouth of Xaden. They move to the bed. Insert sexy writing scene, wandering hands, and vivid recollection of the Armoire moment. Up until this point, Xaden hasn't trusted himself to be physical with Violet. Right now, he is being physical. Lightning strikes. We all know what that means. Violet looks up to find Xaden looking like he is in unbearable pain. Violet tries to reassure him that he was still in control. But there on the headboard is the only reminder he needs to always stay in control around Violet. 2 discolored thumbprints are barely visible where his hands were. Xaden just channeled. Hey, we're going to leave that in. I want that in. The little... That is what channeling sounds like. You'll hear, in the background, you'll hear a faint little burp, and that is what channeling sounds like. Ribbit. I tried to summarize this chapter as best I could, but if I was being 100% honest, I had to reread this chapter, even the first read through, like 5 times to understand what was happening. The meeting to me was very confusing. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't recognize who was there. I didn't know if you guys had the same.
It just seemed like they were bringing a council group of every representative of the kingdoms that make up this continent.
Okay.
And so you had like Navarre, you had Poor Emil, you had the Bear. Well, not the Barons. They're not a part of this, I feel like. But you had all those representatives coming together because I think they're trying to work on an accord or...
Yeah, they're working on like the treaty or whatever.
Yes.
But
Because they led a revolution and it was successful, so now they have to re-treaty.
so
right?
in a sense, this is like the king's cabinet. Like this is all the people that come back to him and say, this is what's going on in my land.
It's more than that because it's not just Navarre. Like there's a king of Poor Emil, which is Queen Mariah, which is the neighboring land of on this continent.
So, like, when I read this, I just literally skipped everything that had to do with a person I didn't know, a place I didn't know, and I just focused on Andarna and Violet, like, getting what they wanted for their...
Yeah.
That's what I did.
No, I think that's
because
important. It's just...
I blur everything.
Well, I don't know if like a good representation would be like the UN.
Yeah, well, it calls it, though, the King's Council. That's who she said in chapter 1. It says she has a meeting later that day with the King's Council. That's why I was confused.
And it's more than just King Halden's dad. What's his name?
I think he's the king of, like, everybody. That's what... Because, like, if they're the council to the king and they all own their own land, he must be, like...
So
he's God and the rest of the disciples.
He's
Maybe you're
king
right.
of
I'd
the
need to reread that.
continent.
I have to...
The whole continent he's king of, and then these are like his leaders throughout.
Yeah, that's how I see it. But is that right? I don't...
Well, maybe it's also because Poor Emil and like the the Griffin riders and stuff that are from places past the wall. Maybe that's what it is. So he's like king of what's in the wall, and then everyone past. I need to do a little bit more research on that one.
Okay.
So, like, obviously he has all these provinces under him, but like Port Emil's past the wall with the wards. So I think that's why even later in chapters when they are attacked.
But he's also the only one that can reinstate Xaden. He's the one that gives Xaden
Yes, because
back.
they took over Tyrandor.
Yeah, but he's the one that made the decision to give it back to him, right? So,
True.
like...
Yeah.
His title, you mean?
Yeah, his title. So this one I'm excited to ask you. When the book states he growls, how do you guys interpret that? Do you think it's an internal growl? And I'm talking about the sexy scene. Like, do you picture an audible growl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
But I don't, so these types of books, when they say growl, I really wish they would use a different descriptive word because of what you experience in the bedroom, like for real. It's not like he's not growling like a freaking tiger or something.
Yeah,
he's
and-
just like, it's a moan.
The only way when they say he growls is I can only be like, grrr. You know what I mean? Like, it's the only way I interpret it.
I don't know. I just have to like separate their vivid imagery from what I think it is.
Yeah.
Because I don't agree with how they describe things like that.
It's this animalistic nature of releasing in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did picture like a tiger growl.
I mean,
a rumble.
I just love those videos where they're like
Recreating it.
Yeah, trying to picture it. It's like,
Yeah. What's up with the vivid memories projected into Violet's memories from Xaden? What's up with it? This isn't the first time it's happened. He gives her the Armoire memory. He did it when she was sitting in class in the first or second book. I can't remember at this moment. But this is where I think Xaden has a third signet.
but this time it's not him doing it. It's Violet. So is it?
I think it's part of their bond because think about it. She can also see through Taryn's eyes when he wants to show her something.
Yeah.
I think it's part of their bond.
But why do Xaden and Violet have a bond when it's not talked about that any other like human has a bond with another human? Like
Because of their mated pair.
Yeah, but so does that mean the other writers with the mated pair that's like older also has that bond? They can talk to each other too?
Jenna, I think that needs to be revealed.
Or
But we don't know. I don't think we have actual...
or did the people in the past that had the shadows and wielded lightning, did they have the same bond too?
Well, and it's like mentioned that there's only been one time where all 6 of the like signets that are super powerful have been present at one time, and it was crazy. So do you get to have a bond if you have a powerful signet? That was just weird. Like, why does Violet never question that? Why is she not like trying to find in the scribe, like, okay, is there another mated bond that the humans get to have this? Why is that not something that is questioned from her?
I feel like she just kind of goes with the flow because it's a territory that she doesn't know a lot about. She's learning it as she goes, so she doesn't know how to ask the right questions. I think in her mind, she's like, oh, well, all the people with mated dragons have this bond. The dragons.
Honestly, I think Violet, out of anybody, is going to have 4 signets.
4 signets?
I think she's going to get 2 signets from each dragon.
I think she's going to have innumerable.
Yeah, I think
then
she'll have as many signets as Andarna can turn color.
She can.
You know, that's also another theory.
Yeah.
I think that Andarna can change whatever signet she gives her at any point in time.
That makes her definitely the most powerful then.
Doesn't matter what what she needs, because I don't know. It's just stuck in my mind that the other dragon tells Andarna, like, what did you do to your tail? And you can change it back and you are magic. And I'm not sure that everybody else, all the other dragons, aren't going to be able to do the same thing once they learn from Andarna.
Chapter 4. Xaden took power without thinking. He was right to stay away from activities where he loses control. While getting dressed, they discuss Xaden's recent meetings, of which he wants no part of. The negotiations between
Poor O'Meal
and Navarre are wearing on everyone, and it's all hanging by a thread. The conversation is interrupted by Brennan outside their door. And Garrick. and Lul and
Llewellyn.
Bodhi and Imogen. A crowd like this usually means someone died. But the only thing dying is possibly Garrick if he keeps pushing Imogen's buttons. Before that can happen, Myra shows up having just returned from her secret mission. Brennan, Xaden, and Llewellyn head to more meetings while Imogen, Bodhi, Violet, and Mira speak privately. Mira has 2 gifts. One is a conduit from Felix for Violet. The second is a wooden rune practice disc composed of 3 runes. We don't know what this rune can really do, but we do know that Myra, Trissa, and Battle Axe were able to alter the material the rune is tempered into without destroying it, aka changing its form. And they were able to nullify 1 rune while the other 2 were left intact. What does this have to do with anything? To be 100% honest, I have no absolutely freaking idea. But we do know that Violet states that having this rune now potentially means A, she can save the negotiations, B, the Flyers will be able to stay, and C, she will be able to keep her deal with Takaris. Everyone involved is committing treason by just having this rune in their possession. Negotiations are still not going well. Not wanting to be killed by Venin isn't a strong enough motivator for everyone to get along. One of the only things moving forward is the task force going with Violet, which Mira is just now finding out about because she's been on a secret mission. So let's just say she isn't a fan. In fact, she is completely against it. The family drama spirals from here. Mira accuses Brennan of using Violet as a pointless sacrifice for strangers. The task force is a fool's errand. Horatio will lose its wards in 6 months. Finding Andarna's kind could take decades. Mira shoves the rune she helped create in Brennan's hand and storms off. He quickly realizes what he is holding, even if we as readers do not. He knows he must take it to the Cenarium.
Right, you did it.
Cenarium! I said it. Okay. I think we're all a little confused on the runes.
Mm-hmm.
I picture like a little kitten playing with a yarn ball.
Mm-hmm.
That is how I picture.
Because of the thread that they have to pull from the dragons.
Yeah, I'm a very literal person, I guess.
They
I
make
don't know.
the cat's cradle with
Yeah.
It's a cup and saucer.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I picture. Obviously, this is the runes are a big piece of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that has done anything has used runes, I feel like. Even her dad uses it on his book. So there's things like that where it all comes together.
It's a powerful magic, I feel like.
Yeah. But this chapter, I caught, like rereading it 22 times, I finally started to very minimally understand it, but not enough to explain to anyone. Can Imogen and Garrick just hook up already?
Please.
Like, holy crap.
Seriously.
So
But you know, what would it be without the tension?
you need that attention.
To like a slow
Mm-hmm.
burn.
But they obviously care so much about each other that
Yeah.
it's like almost inevitable, but at the same time, you just are waiting for it.
Yeah. When he's like saving her in the tower at the very end of the book and he's like, I can't, like, he has to emphasize, I cannot leave you.
I cried. I cried.
If you don't,
oh my
we
gosh,
can't talk
yes.
about that.
No,
scene.
we can't.
This is first episode. No tears.
But
The rules of podcasting is episode 1. You may not cry.
No.
I also really, really, really liked when Garrick is like pushing her buttons though, because
Yes.
when he
Yes.
and
No one
then-
else can the
and
way
then
he does.
she's like, "You look so well rested." I feel sorry for that girl you were with or whatever. Stop being mean to me or I'm gonna fall in love with you.
Exactly. Unpopular opinion, or maybe popular opinion, I am completely okay with Mira blaming Brennan for their mom's death. And here is why. I don't think it's his fault, but I am okay with her misguided anger to be at him because I don't like Brennan. So she can use him as a scapegoat. I'm still mad at him for basically dying, but not dying and not telling his family that he's alive. If I was his sister, I would never get over that ever again. I'm okay with her being like, I'm angry that our mom is dead and I'm using you as the scapegoat of my anger. Do you think Mira is being overprotective of Violet?
No.
I don't know. He calls her the mom, and I just want to punch him in the face when he does that because yes, she may be being like the mom right then. His whole 6 years that he was in hiding, he was exactly like the mom.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, he had a different purpose, but he did the same fucking thing. He's just such a hypocrite that I can't stand it. Hypocrites, I hate.
Well, and here's something that I think is later on it's referenced that Mira has never fallen in love, or Violet doesn't think that she's fallen in love. I think that Mira's love is Violet. I think that her ultimate person that she wants to protect is Violet as an older sister, and just as she might see herself as a protector. I was watching a movie, and it was basically someone letting the world burn to save one person. And just like Xaden will let the world burn if it means to save Violet. I think there are people in my life that if you're like, okay, if the government came to me and said, if you sacrifice this one person, it will save the entire world, that I'd be like, ooh, this is going to suck, but we're all going down together. Well, so I think that's kind of how Mira feels about Violet.
I would agree with that. And I don't blame Mira for it, because sibling bonds are crazy, crazy big for me. And the fact that Brennan threw theirs away, I don't think that she'll ever be able to get over that. And I would never be able to get over that, because
I think Mira can't be blamed for how she feels towards Violet being an older sibling, but also because of losing, quote unquote, Brennan.
Yeah.
For all those years. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think she is a protector. I think that is just in her nature. Not that she necessarily only sees Violet as weak, but just because...
No, she proves that she doesn't think she's weak. She like knows that she's a writer and that's where she's supposed to be, and she fully supports it. Fuck if she's gonna let anybody get to Violet. Like, that girl, I mean, literally her signet, which is what you need most of the time, is to be able to create wards. Like, she gets to expand them to keep people safe. That girl is a protector.
Oh, yeah.
Just know you will get a video of me crying if we lose her.
Oh, yeah.
God.
I think her and Rhee are the two, my top two. All right, moving on to chapter 5, waiting. That's what Violet, Rhee, and Riddick are doing, waiting for news on the Treaty of Eratia, waiting on the first years to finish giving the Flyers their tour of Biscayath. They're just waiting. The waiting quickly ceases when they learn from Sloane that a rider is forcing a challenge on a Flyer. A drop of blood could end the peace talks. So everyone rushes to the courtyard where the spectacle is taking place. Not a leader in sight. Worst case scenario. This place really is close to all-out chaos because the Navarian riders won't accept the Flyers. Will they ever? Violet is able to calm down Kat, who was about to accept the challenge in place of the scared Flyer, but then a violent chant is casted out. Challenge! Challenge! They're all British. Challenge! Ara from Second Wing still wants a fight. Half of the group still wants bloodshed. Dane tries to defuse the situation by referencing the Codex, typical Dane. Turns out his voice falls on deaf ears. The Codex doesn't apply to someone seen as a deserter. Ara wants revenge, and it's coming in the shape of Dane in a matchbox. She wants to challenge the strongest rider. Andarna reminds Violet that Dane isn't the strongest. Violet is the strongest. Violet steps up and throws a dagger to pin Ara before she can throw any flames Dane's way. She's not a rebel. She's a revolutionary. Mic drop.
I thought it was really cool in this part that Violet was like, okay, I may have a past with Dane that's not the best, but like hell if I'm going to let somebody hurt him.
Dane grows on me a little bit more in this book.
I know he's supposed to grow on you more this book, and maybe his little will they, won't they with Sloane grows on me. I feel like I should hate Kat more and hate Dane less, but I actually hate Dane equally as much as I did before. Sorry, Rebecca. And like Kat more. Kat's growing on me.
Really?
I think you said that you didn't like her, but I do see her as a friendship growing from a different series.
I think the more I see her true intentions come out, like I can forgive her, but for the most part, there's a lot of scenes that I'm like, you drive me nuts because you have one goal in mind, and that's either Xaden or your kingdom, and you feel like it's rightfully yours, so you just completely make it inevitably hard for Violet. So being an enemy when she doesn't need to be, but they could become best friends, who knows?
I think that it is her... what she falls back on, because her whole life they are basically taught that they're inferior to writers.
Yeah.
So she in these books is on constant awareness of that, and so it's like her defense mechanism. Like, I'm just going to be a total bitch, and that's going to be my character. But she's growing on me.
Yeah.
She grows a lot this book.
She does.
I like Kat. I didn't like her at first, obviously, because of how bitchy she was being. But the older sister helps me like her. And just the fact that she's young and she's growing and whatever, like, I just like her. I think it's going to be think it's cool that she's a flyer and not a writer, and there's a connection there, and I think that it's gonna be a good thing.
I think she'll be a better alliance later on. I think we're seeing the like starting steps of that, but I feel like she's got to have that groundwork. She's got to lay that foundation down, because right now she came in as a pain in the ass basically, and then now she's starting to slowly like support and help the squad group.
It's a nice speech. It's great. But I just have to mention my one theory that this series is going to end with history repeating itself. And so I almost feel like this speech might be foreshadowing that. I want it to be known, I don't hope that happens. But there's just a big piece of me, and probably because Rebecca said our history's telling on slavery inspired her to write a book like this, that inspired her to write Fourth Wing, that we hide some of the history we don't want to talk about because we're ashamed of it or whatever the case may be. I just think there's a chance that history might repeat itself and that Violet's generation may not be the answer.
And that's why Justina has transcribed everything for us for future generations.
Yeah. I do think, though, Justina, if she was the bad guy, wouldn't Xaden be able to tell that through her intentions?
Yeah.
Anything else to add on the speech?
Oh, Dane is growing on me too, though.
Okay.
Like, I hated him for sure. And then he was an idiot, and he just trusted everybody in power, which was obviously a mistake. But he did defect with them. He is breaking rules. He knows what he wants to fight for, and he's doing it. And I'm here for the character growth. Let's go.
I was just going to say that, like, Rebecca has in interviews said that Dane is one of her favorite characters.
Yeah.
And I think she loves giving us characters that need growth, that show evolution of themselves, just like with Kat, just like with Dane. I think we're going to see that kind of up and down. But right now, Dane is proving his worth, especially in comparison to his fucking father.
I also realized that I added this question on the wrong chapter. Speech is actually chapter 6. But anyways, chapter 6, Violet gives her speech of unity. The short version, everyone needs to work together to defeat the Venin. Violet ends with a question. Will this generation of riders and flyers commit the same sins as their ancestors? Or will they be the first to do the right thing? Before anyone can answer,
Devera, Professor Emitero,
and
Kaori
show up. Devera repeats the sentiment. Die now fighting each other or die fighting the shared enemy. Fighting now is a guaranteed death. Fighting the shared enemy, well, there's a shot at winning. Everyone knows the last time a Shadow and Lightning wielder fought side by side, they won. All the weapons start to fall. It may not be an agreement, but it's an understanding. Xaden, Llewellyn, Brennan, and Mira walk into the courtyard with news from their meeting. Xaden and Brennan are both wearing frowns, so it can't be good news. Brennan asks Arik to join them for news, so what does that mean? Arik guesses it almost immediately. His brother Halden has complicated things. The King's son will be joining Violet's mission. In regards to Andarna's remaining demands, as part of the accord that we'll be signing in the morning, all those who flew for Erasure will be pardoned and welcomed back as requested. Andarna will not be submitted for examination. Andarna will be able to hunt in the King's forest when she pleases, but Andarna's request to keep the flyers safe and the squads intact was denied. There will be no alliance. The deal with Takaris will fall apart. The flyers will have to go back to Erasure, to the failing wards. It's time for Violet to actually move to Plan B. Treason. Xaden has news too. Before he shares what the king gave to him, he makes Violet promise that she'll sound the alarm if he goes too far, that she'll keep it safe even if it's from Xaden. She promises without understanding. Then he tells her, he's the Duke of Tyrrendor. She has to save him. She has to save the Alliance.
Can we just note how sassy Andarna is in this book? Like, her teenage years are coming through hard.
Yeah. And I just love that she asks to hunt in the King's forest just for the heck of it. She's like, yeah, just throw that one in there.
But she'd have the time of her life if she got to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The last time a Shadow Wielder and Lightning Wielder fought side by side, they won. Did we already know this?
No, I actually didn't even think about that when I reread this.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, since we know there's a lightning wielder that's old as all get out, that's Venin, is the shadow wielder Venin, and they fought together and they won, and that's why the continent has to be protected now.
Who is the lightning wielder?
Are you talking about the balance, like basically of needing a balance that magic
she's
demands
not a lightning wielder. Never mind.
Yeah, because
She's
I
not.
know we learned
Yeah.
that.
Never mind.
We think
We
she's
think
a
she
lightning.
is.
Never mind.
No, but that's not a bad. You're not going down a bad path because they just like mention this war, and are we assumed to just like, oh yeah, the war. I remember my grandfather fought in it. Your grandfather fought in it.
They keep referencing all of this history that we as the reader are not privy to, and Violet isn't researching. Like, obviously she studied it because she's a scribe, right? Or
We're just getting the beginning chapter. Like, that's what we get as the heading.
Isn't she shocked by that revelation?
She is.
Yeah, she's even shocked. Like,
Yeah.
oh, the last time they fought together, they won.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if they were bad or good.
Halden. We don't know a lot about him yet at this point in the book,
I
but
just want to punch him in the face.
We all know we don't like him. Okay, let's be honest.
I mean, his name
He's
is
a little
Halden.
shit.
Let's send you to Malek already, mister.
Love Andarna's demand to hunt the King's Forest. I mean, this is they took this to the King's Council, and she had the guts to be like, throw a Gucci bag in there too, you know? Just do this. We're going to transition to fan theories. So every episode, we're going to talk about fan theories. We have 2 today. The first one is Xaden's promise in chapter 6, the last chapter, the same one reference when he's talking to Sagel in like the last page of the book, basically, or the second to last page of the book.
So swear you'll sound the alarm if I go too far, that you'll keep it safe even if it's for me.
I feel like it has to be his home,
I think
Tyrrendor, because he says you'll keep it safe. He just became the Duke of Tyrrendor, so is that what he's talking about?
that's a big question throughout this book because he references it so much as it or her.
And the reason why I bring this up as the exact same promise, I looked up every time promise was referenced in the book. And the only time it will make sense is this promise. The second to last page of the book, he's talking to Sagel Bagel, and this is Sagel Bagel saying this. Taryn does not, and you haven't looked in a mirror yet. The red veins branching from your eyes look like her lightning. And then Xaden goes, she'll help. It comes out with a hell of a lot more certainty than I feel. She promised. I feel like it has to be talking about
It's gotta be.
I think it's also why referencing later on the closing chapter basically of this book is mentioned that something was done without us being privy to it and then it was wiped. The memory of that or any information of that was wiped and that will be later revealed. That has to do with his promise as well. The only other things that he mentions is Bodhi.
It has
Leaving
a
it to-
promise
yeah.
with Bodhi. Yeah. He says he cares about her number 1 and then Tyrrendor number 2.
Tyrrendor is the whole place. Erasha is like the city.
His home.
Yeah.
Okay. Second theory is Xaden has a third signet. So we know that the marked ones have 2 signets. So Xaden has 2 signets, we find out, because 1, from bonding with a dragon, and 2, because he bonded with a dragon in his direct line. But he's also a marked one. So that would mean, in theory, that he will have a third signet like the rest of the marked ones.
She doesn't say specifically that every one of the marked ones has 2, but we can, as readers, infer. Plus, Violet saying, I wonder if Sloane has 2, you know, they're going to have 2.
I'm wondering if the signet, since some of them are taking so long to manifest, and we had so long of a gap of dragons wanting to bond, like the numbers just kept getting lesser, the signets are becoming more stronger in a sense. I feel like we are having a lot more individuals show double signets or multiple signets.
I think a lot of changes with how signets and dragons work are happening. And I don't know if that is the magic changing or are the dragons changing or like what's going on. But yeah, the marked ones definitely are something special. And they're probably going to be able to do more than anybody else.
I'm not sure if Xaden has a third signet, but I'm of the lesser opinion on that matter.
I truly think that every marked one has 2 signets. So that would give him 3. But I also believe Violet has like 24 signets because of, 24 is just throwing a number out there. But I think she has as many signets as Andarna can change colors. He states is in chapter 17, I believe, when he's talking about his jealousy with Halden, he says, yeah, I picked up on that. His brow knits as he nods. I picked up on a lot of things he was thinking. His second signet is to only read people's intentions. I don't think that this is his signet growing. I think he possibly has a third signet that we don't know about. Those are just 2 fan theories. Each episode, we will go over more fan theories as they come along, or we come up with them. So I guess if we come up with them, they're not necessarily fan theories. Or I guess we are, because we are fans and they are our theories. This next segment is called The Spotlight, where we talk about what's happening in social media. If Rebecca did like an interview we want to talk about, or if something's trending on BookTok. The topic that is just going crazy right now is the casting rumor for Xaden. And Rebecca's made it known that Xaden is not white. So we know that that cuts out a group of people. The person that is rumored, his name is Josh Hudson. Okay. I'll show him to you guys. And you guys can look him up once Adriana gives the appropriate name, because I'm sure I butchered it. Do you think this looks like Xaden to you? Here's his Instagram page.
Oh, it is the dude I saw.
Is it?
Yeah.
What thoughts?
I mean, he's not my first pick, but he's not a bad Xaden. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Hold on, Jenna.
I can't. I need to see it now.
Is it Josh Houston? I'd have to look it up,
You guys
though.
can look it up. Jenna, spell out his last name for people to look him up.
Heuston.
Go check out his Instagram. See if you think it's a good casting. It's not like confirmed, but his bio is a dragon.
I know.
That is, and he follows Rebecca.
Yeah.
Rebecca follows him. I also,
think
Jenna shaking her head. I don't think he's our Xaden.
He's not a bad
He's not
pick.
our Xaden.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I think we'll all have something different in our minds anyway. But
yeah. I think he looks too kind.
Yeah.
I don't think Xaden looks this kind. He's this fit. I mean,
We think-
this guy's a fit guy. I think he's that fit, but I don't think.
He's not my Xaden.
Okay.
That's not how I pictured Xaden.
Everybody go look him up. See if he's your Xaden. I'd love to know everybody's thoughts
This
on
picture
that.
though is definitely a contender. Like the
Yeah.
the shrug, kind of
Yeah.
like a.
She's talking about a beach photo where he is not wearing a shirt, and you can tell he is that muscular build that is so
got a
often referenced.
smirk, okay, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here.
He just has, his eyes are too kind. I don't picture Xaden to have kind eyes. Oh,
What's with the hair?
I don't know. He's wearing leather pants in that. Okay. The next topic of Spotlight is there is a singer, and his name is Alex Warren. Oh my gosh, I just opened my TikTok and he was the first. Oh, his song is actually fully out. So Alex Warren came out with a song called Ordinary. It must have literally dropped today of the recording. It's just been little clips of him singing a specific part, and I'm gonna just show you guys that clip. If you're listening, look up his song Ordinary. See if you think that this is the theme song of Onyx Storm. That's the clip that everyone is obsessed with and thinks this is the song for Xaden and Violet, because it talks about he's kissing the ground, that it's not ordinary, that she's his sanctuary. Agree or disagree by just that clip? And I'm only showing you that clip even though the full song is out, because this is the snippet of his song that he had released when everyone was obsessed with it.
Honestly, like first reaction straight off the bat, like I can see why people probably obsess with that. The only thing is I do want to hear the full song because I want to hear more of it. It was hard for me to like really hear the words from this point.
I couldn't hear the lyrics very well, but I did like the vibe of the music.
Yeah.
Like that does express how they feel about each other to me. Like
Why do I want it a little bit like more, not heavy metal, but like something darker?
Yeah,
like I can see the tension there with the music, but
what we should do is we should do a wraparound, and then the next time that we get together, or episode 2, listen to the whole song now that I know it's out, and we see if we think it's that.
Okay.
The last thing I want to do, I want to play a game. Malek Bond Armoire. There is another famous game called something else.
Fuck, marry, or kill.
So this is that. Malek obviously means death. Bond is the strongest thing that you can have in this book. And everyone remembers the Armoire scene from book 1. So who is your guys' Malek Bond Armoire? And you don't have to give a lot of reasoning, but we're also going to play this when we finish the series going over this book and see if your answers change. after just rereading it 100 times.
Okay.
Can I bring somebody back from the dead?
You may not bring someone back from the dead. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Malek, I'm killing Brennan. He's already been dead before. I know I should kill a bad guy. I should.
I don't think I'd cry, though.
Logistically, I should kill the tattoo girl, Theodosia. What's her name?
Yep.
That was it.
I
liked yours better.
Yeah, I should want to kill her, but I'm not. Armoire, I'm choosing Xaden at this point. Or Riddick. I'm choosing Riddick for that. Riddick is going to be my Armoire. And then Bond, Xaden is doing absolutely everything for Violet. Everything.
But you can't pick him for 2.
No, I changed it. He's not Armoire. He's now Bond.
Yeah. You're Riddick. Okay.
Yeah. Riddick is Armoire. Bond is Xaden. So do you want to go next, Andarna?
Okay. So my Armoire moment cannot be Riddick, only because I do not want to feel that ice in the middle of heat. That is all I'm going to say.
That is a great point. I didn't even think of that.
I choose Garrick only because of his walking ability.
Oh, that he can travel to different places?
Yes.
Wait, so you're choosing him for what? The Armoire?
For the Armoire, because it'd be between him and Xaden, and I think that'd be fun in the bedroom. I love Riddick. I love his banter. I think it's great, but I do not want to be frozen in the bed.
No,
that turns me off instantly. So my Malek at this point in time would still be Jack, and my answer could change later. So I'm really curious how I feel by the end of this podcast, but my Bond is still Xaden at the moment.
I didn't even think about Jack.
Okay.
I killed a good guy, or might be good guy. Okay,
don't know.
Jenna?
Honestly, I would kill Brennan just because I have resentment in the areas of letting your siblings think that you're dead and pretty much writing them off and letting them be ignorant. I don't know. I just, that really gets to me. So I'm gonna Malek. I'm gonna send Brennan to Malek and burn all of his shit. My Armoire is probably Riddick because I think it would be fun. Close would be Imogen. I might do Imogen
the
too,
pink hair,
because she's just got it all, man. And Bond, before I wasn't gonna Bond Xaden, but after going through and reading everything again, I'm pretty sure I would Bond Xaden.
He's a pretty good Bond.
He's faithful to his dragon. He's faithful to his girl. He's doing everything he can to save his country, and misguided or not, he's in it for the long haul. So I'm bonding Xaden.
Okay, well that concludes today's game of Malek Bond Armoire. So Jenna, do you want to go ahead and wrap it up for us?
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Next episode, we will be talking about chapters 7 through 14 of Onyx Storm, so brush up, people. And be sure and check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Tune in on Spotify every Friday for a new episode of Book Thoughts.
If this is being released on the day that we're hoping to, I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's.
Oh, yes. It will be released on the day we're planning. Happy Valentine's to everyone who's listening. If you don't have a Valentine, we are your Valentines. If you do, we are also your Valentines now. So happy Valentine's Day, and tune in next week.